So the one thing that I've come to realize about myself, and maybe you can relate to this too, is that when you practice guitar, when you sit down and actually practice scales or music theory, chord progression, something that you're working on, there seems to be something always distracting you. Whether it's another YouTube video, whether it's wanting to try a new effects sound or add a little bit of tremolo and delay and see where the muse takes you. One of the problems of having something like the Axe FX is the unlimited amount of potentially awesome tones you can dial in at any click of the button. Well, yes, the upside is unlimited, and by no means am I complaining, but when it comes to practice, when it comes to running through scales and doing things that are actually meaningful, that are going to make me a better guitar player, something like the Axe FX is quite literally a distraction. Say I'm not entirely confident in my guitar tone, or I want to add a fuzz or some kind of dreamy reverb delay landscape, I can do that. And I probably do have ADD. My mind's going to take me to that direction anyways, instead of actually practicing and putting in the work and playing the boring scales, the boring modes, but those are the things that are going to make you better. So in today's video, I'm going to be building the ultimate practice pedal board in hopes that I can squash those distractions for when I practice. And to help me as the backbone of this pedal board, I'm going to be using the Pedaltrain Nano Plus. So the first thing that we're taking into consideration when building out a practice pedal board is, what are you trying to accomplish with each of your practice sessions? For me, I'm really trying to master my modes, so having something that can cause a pedal tone underneath while I practice the modes on top of, it's gonna be really crucial for me. Maybe you're also working on improvising over a chord progression. Having something like a looper pedal will also come in handy. So when it comes to effects on a practice pedal board, I wanna try to keep things as minimal as possible, just to cut down on one, the distractions, but two, so you focus on exactly what you're trying to do and trying to play. Something like an overdrive or distortion pedal, yeah, is necessary when you're practicing, especially if you're practicing crunchy power chords, or you need something to boost over the level of your main output level when you're practicing, but keep it to a minimum. Don't need 5 different kinds of overdrives when you're practicing, but save that for rehearsal time. The same thing goes with your delay pedal. I would argue that you probably don't need delay unless you're really practicing your slapback chicken picking techniques, or maybe you're practicing a solo that has some epic stadium delay on it. Then maybe you might need that just so you can get the feel of it, right? Because some of those solos don't sound particularly well without some delay, but I would keep it simple. Same thing goes with reverb as well. Keep it to a minimum. I use a little bit just to enhance the sound, so it doesn't just sound completely bare bones dry. With that said, let's look at the pedals that I'll be using on today's ultimate practice pedal board. First up is a tuner. This is the Boss TU2 tuner. I think they have a TU3 out now. I've literally had this tuner since high school. It's pretty old. It's seen better days. I actually cleaned it today, so it looks a little bit nicer. And here's the thing about having a tuner on your practice board. You need to practice and tune. I don't think I need to say anything more about that. This one's great. There's other products out there, of course, and there's smaller ones, maybe not made by Boss, but smaller ones out there as well, but have a tuner on your practice pedal board. Next up is the overdrive distortion levels. I use the Keeley-Tone workstation. I think this is the perfect pedal for playing country music, and check out this video here if you haven't already checked it out, going over why this is the perfect pedal. But I like this because there's different flavors. It's not too overly complex. I know I said keep it simple. This is the only overdrive pedal I actually have, so this is simple in terms of my case of use, but perfect for playing if you're trying to cut through maybe a mix that you already laid down with a looper pedal or something like that. But I think this is the great pedal to start and put on the practice board. Next, we have delay and reverb, and for my purposes, I'm going to be using the Keeley Cavern. This is a great all-in-one purpose pedal for delay and reverb because you have delay on one side and reverb on the other side, significantly cutting down on the space on our already small pedal board. Compared to the Boss TU1, you can see it's only slightly bigger than a standard stop box. So having a pedal that's smaller than 2 pedals that has 2 different effects you need is perfect. And this thing can go up from simple reverbs and slapback delays to more complex dotted 8th note delays and more ambient reverbs. And yes, while I said keep it simple, having one pedal that I don't have to twist a whole lot of knobs will certainly keep me in line when I'm playing and practicing. So now that we have the basic effects out of the way, let's talk about 2 pedals that I think everybody needs to have on their practice pedal board. The first one being the freeze pedal by Electro Harmonics. In a nutshell, this pedal will take what you played, it'll take your guitar signal, and freeze it on a certain time whenever you engage the pedal. So this pedal has 3 different modes: fast, slow, and latch. And what it does is when you press it, it will capture your signal and it will hold it. If it's in fast, it will hold it for a fast amount of time, making it go by quicker. Slower amount of time, or latch, where it will essentially create a pedal tone underneath and just hold that drone note for as long as you want. And where I really like to use it is in the latch mode, particularly when practicing modes. So I will play a G note or a G chord, latch it down, and then practice my scales modes over top of it. If you're looking to practice your modes and practice your scales and hear how scales interact with different chords, I highly suggest picking up one of these freeze pedals. The last essential pedal that any practice pedal board needs is a looper pedal. I'm using the Ditto Looper by TC Electronics. It's super small and compact and super simple, as it only has 1 knob and 1 button, but there are plenty of different options for looper pedals. The great thing about having a looper pedal on your practice board is the ability to create chord progressions. It's especially useful if you're trying to learn to play over the chord changes. You can create a little loop and then practice the chord changes. I'm pretty sure this one has a 5-minute loop duration, so you can essentially play the chord progression of an entire song and then learn how to solo over it, which is great. Now, to pedal all this up, I'm going to be using the One Spot by Visual Sound. It's not the greatest solution. I think eventually I'm going to get one of those Pedaltrain Volto battery packs. But for today's purposes, we're going to be using this wall wart and daisy chains. So not ideal, but you use what you have. So first up is the guitar tuner, which makes sense. First thing that coming out of the guitar, you want to make sure that your guitar and signal chain is in tune, especially when you practice. The next up, I put the drive pedal. Also makes a lot of sense. That's usually where drive pedals go in any normal signal chain. So up second is the drive pedal. Next up is the Keeley Caverns delay and reverb. It kind of ends the tonal signal chain, so makes sense as that's where it is in any normal pedal board as well. And then finally, up last, I was trying to debate on whether to put the Ditto or the freeze pedal first or second, or second to last and last, depending on how you're thinking about it. And originally I had the Ditto as second to last and the freeze pedal last, but then I had a thought. What if I want to freeze something but not have a loop going? Now, most of the time you're going to be using these pedals independently, and maybe I'm overthinking it, but I ended up switching them and putting the Ditto pedal last, as that will loop the entirety of what's going on instead of just the tonal section, leaving out the freeze pedal. Let me know if I'm overthinking it or if you would have done it backwards. I'm curious, but that's just my thought process. And I also did cable management, and it's not the cable management porn that is very popular on Instagram, but it is enough for me to get the cables tightly secured so they aren't flopping around. And the cool thing about this cable management system is I use these military grade cable tie downs. It has 3M tape on the back. You just stick it underneath the pedal board. It has this little cage system where you can loop in some zip ties in order to keep your cables nice and secure. I'll leave a link down in the description box below in case you're wondering. It comes in a bag of like, I think 100 of them. So you'll have more than enough, even if you have a monster Temple Board Trio 34 or whatever. You should have enough for that, even that pedal board. So link in the description box below. So there you have it. That is my practice pedal board. But I'm curious, what pedals do you have to have on when you're practicing country guitar? Let me know in the comment section down below. Would love to hear from you. Also, if you're interested, check out this video over here. It goes over my ultimate country guitar practice routine. I'll see you in the next video. And until then, let the music play.